What is up everybody, and welcome back to another update. In this episode, we're gonna go through all the new things that's been added into the game, such as the levels, the new rendering techniques that are being used, and also the puzzles have started to appear in the game. Let's check it all out. Alright, let's kick off this update with a remake of the select level menu. It has been bothering me for quite some time. The way it looks and how it feels is just bad. I've also been contacted by you guys about it, how it snaps around badly and sometimes not even starting the level when pressed play. So I decided to do something about it in this update. First off, I need an idea to go off. I needed a menu that would display all the levels, allow the player to select all the level as well as the current one for progress. Should also show relics if they have been found. And lastly, easy to understand and look good. I began to play around in GIMP with different ideas and looks. And finally I came up with this idea. This one shows the basic layout of everything. Relics at the top, levels in the middle and the begin button at the bottom. The view if a relic is pressed is the same as before and will not need a remake. It's good as it is. And this is how it all should look if the levels are locked and also if the relics have not yet been found. This of course is just a rough idea how it will turn out, but a great way to start from. So I got to work right away. It took me some time to get the buttons positions to work correctly, but I figured out eventually. I also took some time to remake the looks of the shields when they are unlocked, depending on what type of biome they are in, of course. After some time, I finally got everything to work as I wanted. This is the new version of the menu, and it looks way better. It's easier to select the level, as well as to change the level you wish to play. Comparing it to the old one, this one is way better. I am very happy about the result. The only thing I can think of that is missing is a background, but that is some work for later if I decide to add it. We'll see. Another task I had for this update was to build new levels. 5 to be precise. All of them in a new biome. Some of those levels took quite some time to finish, because they showed that there was something that was bugging or not working as intended. I did edit some blocks in this biome atlas to get more types of tiles in the game, just minor details. I had just forgotten about some tile types when editing them a long time ago. I hope I don't make the levels all too difficult for some people. It's not meant to be easy all the time and the game will surely challenge some of you. I already have some people asking for easier levels. However, let me know if something just won't work or are way too difficult. While this smaller montage of levels being built is shown, how about smashing that like button to Valhalla like a true Viking would do. Each like helps the channel out with the YouTube algorithm and building a channel is quite difficult. So every like and comment I appreciate a lot, and if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe for more updates. Thank you. Now, with the like and subscribe begging out of the way, let's go into the next section of the update. I've been trying to increase the performance of the game by rewriting a lot of the code and looking on different forums on how I can improve it. As this is my own game engine, I don't have the best practices for rendering obviously, but I did find a very useful tip and practice I could implement. It's best used for when you need to render a lot of the same objects but with different positions and rotations. For example, enemies, animations or projectiles. All of these won't have a static position and most of them animate. Prior to the change I did a lot of the calculation in the CPU when they could have been done in the GPU instead. Without going too deep about matrices calculations, as well as all the different OpenGL calls, I will try to explain it in simple terms. The more times you use OpenGL calls to send data to the GPU, the longer it takes to render. It's not a rule, but it does cost a lot of time for sending data over. Every item needs to be drawn on the screen, and as I'm using an older version of OpenGL, I cannot send them all in at once to the GPU with just one call. Some of the more common practices of newer versions of OpenGL can do that. I pretty much have to send the data and draw it for every individual object in the game, one after another, which can take up a lot of time to do. So you want to reduce the total number of OpenGL calls you do to as few as possible and utilize the magic of the GPU by sending all the calculation that needs to be done to the GPU. So I moved all the calculations for the matrix from the CPU side to the GPU side. The matrix calculations in this context calculates how everything should be displayed in the game. Where it should be, should it rotate around any axis, and or scale it. Some of this math is costly in form of processing time, which go way faster on the GPU instead of the CPU. I also changed the shaders and removed a lot of unnecessary code and made it all easier to read. I tested all of these changes to the new shaders and how it's drawn in the credits menu of the game. All of these tests are done on my own phone to see the real difference from the old code to the new code in form of FPS. The old code gave me around 19 frames per second. I did this test with rotating hearts. With the new code, the same test gave around 55 to 56 frames per second, a clear improvement. It's several hundred hearts being drawn at the same time as well as being rotated around the Z axis. Once I got this new code working on the test, I started to redo all the rendering code for everything. This took me a couple of days, but it's faster and better now, and that is worth all the effort. During this code change, I ran into some funny bugs. This one with the light looks very weird. There were of course other things I did in this update. Most were smaller fixes and tweakings here and there. For example, the gun is now in the game and can be found on one of the levels. The amount of starting ammo had been reduced to 5 and the max amount have been set to 10. The controls have been changed a bit. I moved them closer to each other so it's easier to move left and right. There is also now an icon for the game on the phone menu rather than just the default one. There's puzzles in the game in form of lights and buttons. Very simple at the moment, but more will surely come. More music in the game. It only really played one song before, but now it plays more of them. And of course, my favorite feature of this episode, the teleporting door. Try to catch that one. Nah, I'm kidding. It was some weird bug that came up with the code switch, but it does look very funny though. In the next update, I will continue making more levels and with that, add more puzzles to it. I will most likely find more bugs and stuff that needs to be changed and fixed. I didn't cover everything of course, but this is most of the bigger work that was added into the game this week. Hopefully when this update hits, the updated version of the game will be on Google Play. Otherwise, just keep an eye out for this version. That is all I had for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it and I wish you all a happy day. I hope that I get to see you in the next update as well. Until then, take care and goodbye.